Maserati. I'm a recording engineer producer from New York, the United States. There is no better equipment. I've been in studios around the world. It's not easy to build a studio from scratch and have it sound as good as this sounds. I got into audio engineering, music production, while being a student at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and playing in bands and recording bands and doing live sound. Eventually I moved to New York City, where I lived and worked, and started my career at a place called Sigma Sound Studios, and eventually became an independent engineer and producer, and worked in New York for 20 years, and then moved to Los Angeles when the business sort of vacated New York City, and now I'm back in New York. I started working in hip-hop and R&B with several young producers and artists. P. Diddy was one of my early clients, and another team called the Track Masters, and Heavy D and Queen Latifah. Tony Dofat was a producer that I worked with quite often. These are all very early young producers in the hip-hop and R&B world. And eventually the work that we did became successful, and we kept rolling, and I was lucky enough to continue working with many of the young New York producers and engineers and artists in that period. You know, I have been very fortunate to work with some amazing artists. You know, while I was a staff engineer at Sigma Sound Studios, I worked with James Brown, I worked with Patti LaBelle, and quite a number of you know, amazing R&B artists. Throughout my career, I've been fortunate in that way. And working with Beyoncé, I first met her when she was 16 years old, and have been lucky enough to work on several of her albums, and Alicia Keys as well. Working alongside people of this level is thrilling. From the minute you start working with them, from the minute you hear their voice coming out of your speakers, it's a thrilling experience. And then when you're lucky enough to get to meet them and interact with them about creative ideas, you understand how brilliant they are, and how they became so successful, and how their audience became so vast. So I have been very fortunate in that way. And I just did Jason Mraz's newest record. And you know, he's one of those artists who he can play and sing in a variety of instruments and in a variety of styles. And it's just, again, it's a thrilling experience to be working with people like that. Being nominated is actually the most special thing, because there are so many potential nominees. In the beginning, you know, there are hundreds that you're competing against. And to be nominated 3 times, 4 times, I think, for engineering, and is just, it's just amazing. It's nothing I could have ever imagined my career doing. I've been disappointed, but most of the time, the the field of five, people that you're competing with to win the Grammy are all so amazing. It's hard to be that disappointed, because to be in a field with, in my case, Nigel Godrich, who won the engineering Grammy twice when I was nominated. So he won both times that I was nominated for engineering as well, is something that you can't be mad at that. Because I listened to the records he made and thought, well, this is stellar. So the Grammy experience is thrilling to be nominated, thrilling to be invited to the ceremony, thrilling to attend this ceremony, to see those people perform on stage, and in some cases right next to you on the floor, is amazing and thrilling. There is a bit of disappointment, but it's usually in the case of, there were 2 Beyoncé nominations that we didn't win for her album. And we all worked so hard, but nobody worked harder than her. So my disappointment was primarily that she didn't get recognized for that hard work. But in the end, you can't be that disappointed. It's a thrill just to be involved. It's a very hard question to answer. I have worked on so many incredible projects. There's no possible way I can signal one project as being my best, because it's a moving target. You're constantly working to be the best you can every day doing this job. The early records that I did with Mary J. Blige and Mariah Carey and Faith Evans, and there's just Notorious B.I.G. and am I going to pick the best work? I'm happy to say that I like the records that I made. And then as I moved through my career and worked with Beyoncé and Alicia and Jason Mraz and the many artists that I've been lucky enough to work with, I don't have the best one, and I don't have a favorite one, because each one is an experience. Each one is in some ways difficult and challenging, but also enriching and special. So I don't think anybody in my position would have a favorite or what they consider their best work. I don't know that I have a secret sauce, I should say, secret sauce. I have a technique and a methodology that I try to follow in every project that I do, and I base it on where that song needs to be and where that artist wants to be. I do bring a particular mindset as far as wanting to make the material I work on as impactful and interesting and compelling for the audience to listen to. And sometimes that ends up being a particular sound. But in general, the genre and the artist and the song itself tells me what path to follow. The seminar we had at the Roxy Cinema was a very different experience for me than I have ever performed. Normally I am speaking for an hour in that type of environment, or I'm in a classroom or a studio doing a week-long or 2-day long seminar with students. In this case, they were all professionals in the room. And what made this one special is we had 4 hours to actually have quite a dialogue back and forth about what they're experiencing and perhaps my input to help them manage their issues and to hear what they're going through is really important for me as well. So this was special because there was a dialogue involved, which was fantastic. The auditorium at the Roxy was superb and comfortable. So I can't say enough good things about that particular seminar we did. I think this kind of seminar and perhaps smaller events as well would be beneficial. I think that obviously my perspective is primarily of the North American and European markets and some Asian markets. I think integrating different speakers from the region and also from all the regions that are important to the professionals here and the professionals who want to come here, I think would be valuable. Perhaps next time we'll do more events in a period of time, and that way the participants can sort of pick and choose what kind of event they want to be involved in, some demonstration, some lecture, and some sort of question and answer types of events. It's not easy to build a studio from scratch and have it sound as good as this sounds. It just doesn't happen that easily. So the first thing that I'm always curious about is how does it sound? And this room and the Atmos room, the big Atmos room, is perfect. It sounds exactly the way, when I leave and play it at home, it sounds exactly the same as it did here. That's what everyone looks for. They want to be able to walk in and know that what they do, what work they do here, translates to the outside world. That's number one. Number two, the team here it reflects a lot of effort, again, on Daniel's part, but every team member participates in finding new team members and training people. This is something that also is not, you can't take that for granted. I've been in many studios, and generally the team and their attitude is reflected from the top down. And in this case, it's very much like that. All the team members here are participating in being creative. They're participating in their guests and their other team members having a positive experience. This is not something that comes, like this. This is something that has to be, you have to choose the right people, and then you have to train people. So those are two very important things. And then, of course, the equipment. I'm sure that y'all are going to be taking pictures of the equipment that's here, and people can see that online. There is no better equipment. I've been in studios around the world. They've accumulated incredible equipment. They've incorporated it with the best wiring and best integration systems that you can have. And that makes life easy for people who want to be creative like myself and the producers and engineers who are on staff here. So needless to say, I have nothing but good things to say about LPME Studios and the team that supports it. Well, technically, LPME Studios is at the highest standard. The rooms are all floated. The wiring is top-notch. Even the cabling they use is the best cabling you can buy. The equipment they've purchased is the best equipment you can buy, and it's maintained at its highest quality. The acoustic treatments are things that I'm familiar with, and they are implemented in a way that sounds exacting and accurate. Accuracy is always the thing that I'm looking for. And this studio in particular is one of the best sounding control rooms and the most comfortable that I've ever been in. The Dolby Atmos rooms here at LPME are, again, some of the best rooms I've ever been in. Primarily because the size of them is quite accurate. In other words, they're not too big and they're not too small. The Dolby room is slightly larger than this one, and it's equipped with a system that is a PMC speaker system that's incredible. In fact, the PMC monitors that are in the Atmos room are monitors that I'm used to working on. Some of the best large monitors that I have ever worked with. So that being said, the Atmos room itself is equipped and sonically in great shape. As far as whether or not we should say goodbye to stereo mixing, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I listen to stereo mixes at home. I don't have a system that would replay, that would play back Atmos, and I don't, at this juncture, miss it. I think it's lovely when I'm working in Atmos, and it feels great and it sounds great, and occasionally when I hear it in headphones, it's amazing. But in general, I'm listening to music when I'm with the family, or I'm having dinner, or cooking dinner, or in the car and places like that. So stereo mixes to me are still very important. They need to pay attention to how people are working with them, how they are achieving positive responses for their work. I think these are important things that people take for granted. They think that when they get a negative response for their work, it means that either there's a problem with the person giving that negative response, or that they're insufficient. And the reality is that music is a very collaborative thing. And not all collaborations will amount to a great piece of art. Some collaborations just don't work. And some songs are not appropriate for me, and that's the great thing about good producers, is they pick and choose their counterparts, their collaborators, based on the material they're working on. I've been very lucky to have been chosen to work on great projects, but I've also been chosen by great collaborators. So young professionals have to remember that it's less about them and more about the effort they put into the collaboration and the creative process. And also, of course, studying. That's incredibly important. Studying every aspect of what they do and every aspect of the business they're in.